This series about people who may look like you and I, but who somehow have got a recipe for success, something that they do that is beyond the norm. And I like to find that out. Before we start, just want to let you know, I hardly know these people. They have been selected because they have achieved something in the industry. And I just wanted to put the stress on both themselves and me. For them, it's a podcast. They don't know the direction I'm going to go. They don't know who's going to listen to, and they don't know whether they are going to deliver it right. But for me, it's the same. I don't know about them. Therefore, I have to dig. I have to really find that recipe, because champions sometimes do amazing things, but they don't even know the recipe to their success. By exploring what it is that makes them and maybe their own little secret for success, we can share with the rest of you and help you reach success faster. Enjoy. All right, Anna, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We're going to start straight in, all right? This is how we do these things. Otherwise, too much preparation, and you know what? It feels fake, and we don't want that, all right? So first of all, Anna, would you like to just give me a few minutes of who you are? So Anna Cavill, from Stones in Turmera.
Yes. Yeah. I'm a mum.
Oh, nice.
I'm a mum. I'm a wife. I'm a real estate agent, and I'm an owner of Stone Turmera.
Yeah.
I'm a tennis player. What else?
All right. Well, listen, I'm going to try and get into this very quickly, because I think that you've got a very rich journey. And as I said, we don't know where we're going to go. Mm-hmm. We will go wherever you want to go. And hopefully, as I've said it before in a different podcast, it's your opportunity now to pay it forward. It's your opportunity now to say, you know what, I really thank the gift that I have received over the years. And now it is my opportunity maybe to wake up either today, tomorrow, or someday, another kid who's going to say, you know what, just that one line has changed my life. So your time to pay it forward. So I'm going to get in. First of all, you got into real estate pretty late, they say.
I
you
did.
Got into real estate, you were 42 or 43?
43.
Oh, yeah. All right. We don't like speaking age, but let's get the ego out the door, and then we can talk to each other.
Okay. That sounds good. Yes.
Yep.
I got into real estate later in life.
Why is that? I mean, isn't it the time when we should look at slowing down, traveling, especially if the kids have left home? Now maybe it's a time to go, what about just enjoying life?
Look, to be honest, that would have been wonderful. I had children when I was 30, so they certainly weren't leaving school. They were still very young, 30 and a little bit older. So my children were still very young. We'd come back from New Zealand, and we'd come back to Sydney, and I'll be very frank, Sydney's a lot more expensive than New Zealand is, at that time. And an opportunity came up, and I've loved real estate ever since I was 15 years of age. I've absolutely loved just the whole concept, and it's not just the houses, but how you can make something happen, how you can transform something. And to be honest with you, I actually didn't understand in real estate about helping people. So I didn't know that when I came into real estate. That's been an absolute added bonus. Right. What I loved is that you could create something. And I think that's sort of, and honestly and truly, I'd been working in an administration role. I kind of got to the stage there where there was a bit of an aha moment there, where I've realised I was working really long hours. I was taking calls late at night. There was another co-worker that was working kind of 9 to 5, taking the hour break, and we were getting paid exactly the same amount of money. And I remember asking if I could have $5 extra an hour, and that was going to cause a problem between the two workers. And I had a bit of an aha moment where I was like, I think I need a change. I need to do something. And I got lucky just at that time, and I think that's what happens in life too. Sometimes things just come across your path and you take them.
Right.
And I happened to be talking to somebody. They had come over to my house to do an MO or a market opinion on my place, so I thought I'd sit down and ask, how do I get into real estate? And luckily enough for me, they were starting up an office and said, well, we're starting up an office. Yep. Would you be interested? So I was like, yes. And again, so I guess seizing an opportunity is how I kind of got into it.
Okay, but still, there's a lot of people who are going to be listening to this, and they're going to think, hold on, I'm 23, I'm 25, I'm 27. But to think that I'm going to really change the entire direction of my life at the age of 43. I mean, seriously, this is a big question. I know for you, you've done it. So for you, it's the normal thing. So
retrospect, right?
Try to get into the shoes of a person. I mean, for a lot of people, 43, that's like, hold on. She had a midlife crisis, for sure.
True.
Something's happened at home. Her husband had enough of her.
Probably true as well. Sorry, Matt.
and so I'm just thinking, it's not true, right? None of that's true. I mean, this is why it's a phenomenon. I looked at it and I thought about it for a few nights. I'm thinking, how can someone at the age of 43, she's got 2 beautiful kids, the things are fine, things are traveling fine.
You're right.
And then she goes, you know what? I just want a bit of challenges. I just want a bit of spice. I just want a bit of problems in my life.
To be fair, I probably didn't realise quite what real estate was, to be fair. Like, I think I probably had a little bit more. I didn't understand how hard real estate was going to be. I don't think you realise how much work you need to do. But saying that, I kind of look at it as, look, I have a very supportive husband, and I think that's, probably one of the big things. I got very encouraged to do it. The other side is, what have you got to lose? Like, what have you got to lose? Like, there's only one way. If it doesn't work, but I thought, I'm 43 years of life. I'm not like, although I loved being a mum, I wasn't very good at, and that's just me personally, that's not anything else, but I needed to do something else for me. Before I had children, I had a good career, and I was doing very well, but then made a conscious decision to stay home and be a stay-home mum.
Yeah.
But I did do buying and selling of property when I was a stay-home mum as well, with my husband, something I enjoyed doing with him. So it was something that I loved, to be fair. So, yes, it was scary, and it was scary. Do not get me wrong. It was scary. You start in and you're the bottom of the rank, and I'm with everyone else who's 20. They look at me like, what on earth are you doing? I had children, so I could only start work at 9:30 in the morning, and I had to finish by 2:30 because I had to pick up the children in the afternoon. And I played tennis on Fridays, and I found out if I didn't play tennis on Fridays, I wasn't a very nice person. So for everyone's sake, we played tennis on Fridays. So I had a very limited amount of time to do this, but I had one chance. And I got lucky. Someone did give me a chance to do it. And when you get given that chance, you got to show what you got. So, from all of those aspects, it was very, very scary. And looking back on it and making me remember that it was scary, because I look back now going, oh, yeah, that's
How
great.
How the hell did I do that?
Woohoo. But now you're taking me back down there. I am like, actually, I was petrified, petrified. And also, I hadn't worked for so long. Like, I was in an administration job, but I hadn't worked as a career for so long. I just had no self-confidence in myself at all, like none. Wow. And so, but as I said, you have good people around you that say you can do this. You're like, okay, I'll give it a go.
Yeah. I like to make an interjection here. You said earlier there's nothing to lose, but it's not true, is
That's
it?
true.
There's quite a bit to lose.
True.
And because I don't want any of these young kids listening to you and go, oh, well, do you know what? There's nothing to lose. I can give it a go for 6 months. You spoke to your husband.
Yes.
Because real estate is also something that takes over not just your life, it takes a whole family's life.
Correct. And we did know that. Okay. Like that part, when I say I didn't know how hard it was, I knew that though it wasn't just a decision just for me. It was a decision the whole family had to be on board with this too, because there were changes that were going to take place in the family. Yep. No longer was I at home every time the children came home from school. There were changes that the whole family had to take on. So it was a conversation with my husband and also with the children. Even though they were little, I still needed to kind of get their thoughts, because if they were absolutely totally devastated, I might have thought about it, but they weren't. So I didn't have to come up with that solution.
One of the biggest things that I've seen in the years that I've been recruiting people is that even though spouses say, well, yeah, I spoke to my partner and he or she's ready for this, and there comes a time when there is that first conflict. There comes a time when there is that first defining moment, if you will. And from that moment, whether your career is going to continue or not depended on the outcome of that conversation.
True.
Did you experience that?
Look, absolutely we did. It was a big change, all of a sudden, here I was the one that picked up the kids from school, dropped them off at school, cooked dinner, did all of those sorts of things.
Right.
I was a stay-home mum. When I said I worked part-time in admin, I worked school hours. So I was still doing all of those things. It was a massive change for my husband and don't get me wrong, there were some some words, right?
Yep.
Frustrations that we both experienced, as like anything, when you're doing change and everything is a change, there is some upheavals or there is some things there. I absolutely get it. But I think when I make a commitment to do something, I make a commitment to do it. So when I say there was no choice, there was choice. I actually meant there was no choice. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to give it my all. That's so who I am as a person. And my husband knows that of me as well. So it's not like he's walking into this blindly going, yep, sure, no worries. He knows that when we had this conversation, if I say I'm going to give it my all, it's 150% because that's who I am as a person.
Yes.
So he knew that walking in when we had this conversation.
Yeah. So this is where I just want to rectify it. Is you knew that there was nothing to lose.
Yeah.
But you also knew the only way out for me is on the other side of the tunnel.
Correct.
And I think that we need to make sure we clarify it.
That's right.
Because I don't want any of these young kids to sit down and go, oh well, I'm going to try for 3 months. I think that people really need that kind of commitment.
Correct.
Yes. Now, after a few years in real estate, you became a great agent. I want to ask you now a different question because when I did a bit of research about you, I noticed that you won the 2022 top 100 agents in real estate, and then I saw but you won in the top 50 of women in real estate. So I'm thinking, since when do we now make a difference between top 50 women, top 100 agents? Are you proud of one of the either two, or is there a problem with trying to still separate women from real estate, or is it possible to be a woman in real estate and be successful? I mean, now this is a stupid question because obviously you're here, therefore I take it back. But is it possible to be still successful as a woman and not lose your identity or lose that side of life that sometimes demands you to still be there, be mom, because dad will never replace mom?
That's a really good question. And obviously I'm answering it from a woman's perspective, so it might not be what everyone feels. And I'm only talking from
them. They're not here.
I love it. Look, I can only talk from my personal experience.
Yep.
So I found when I came into real estate, I was for a very long time in my office the only woman that was a real estate agent. Everyone else was either assistants or in administration.
Right.
So although they promoted that they were, and I found this fascinating, promoted that they were 50-50, when you actually looked at it, it was, heavily orientated on the administration side. We didn't actually I don't think we had any men in the administration side.
Wow.
And heavily weighted that way. So I'll be honest, I did find when I first started, things are a little bit different now because I have probably a reputation.
Yep.
I had to work twice as hard to get to where I was, and with a lot more criticism. I think I'm hoping that has changed. I've been in it 9 years. I have noticed that things have changed, which is great. But if you do look at the top 100 agents, you will notice that it is still heavily weighted. There is more men than women. We haven't managed to, that's not 50-50 yet. Now, I'm not sure why that is, whether that is, I can't answer that.
Yep.
And I guess, I love the fact that real estate allowed me to be a mum and then come into real estate later. It's probably one of the few careers that people naturally thought that I probably had more experience than I did. Right. One of the advantages. Yeah. And so people assumed I had been in real estate longer than I had. Yeah. So, I think that was something that also sort of has allowed me. And if you think about it, I've been in it 9 years, I've been able to grow quite quickly, which has been fantastic.
Yeah. Even though I don't truly believe in having the top 50 women separate
Yep.
from the top 100 agents. The one thing that I don't know, I'm just stipulating here and fantasizing maybe, but is it possible that when women become a real estate agent, women are still mothers?
Yes.
Where when dad become a real estate agent, dad become a professional real estate agent.
I think there's a little bit of it. I think, and again, this is just my experience, and I'm a little bit older, but when I was in my 20s and 30s, a lot of, we had a lot of stay-home mums or people taking a step back from their career, maybe part-time, maybe, or stepping back full-time and being a full-time mum. So their career got put on hold, as a lot of my friends who are men, were able to have a family and still move forward in their career.
Yes, correct.
I think that's probably, no matter what we do, doesn't matter what, the women still have babies. Like, that's our genetics. That's our body, whatever happens, you are still physically having children.
And you still probably have those feelings of guilt when you're not home cooking for the kids at night because you have to go to a listing presentation.
Correct. But that's where if you have, supportive, where if it becomes that's where, so that was right at the beginning. I certainly had that. Once our roles in my family became a lot more even, now let's saying that my children then became older, so that became easier.
Yeah.
That guilt has kind of leveled up because I know my husband's there doing what needs to be done. I don't cook dinner anymore, I'll be honest with you. I have no idea what's happening for dinner. In fact, I get lots of pictures of what dinner is and then I come home and it's beautifully served. Right. But that's only in the last 5 years.
I don't think that should be in this podcast because I'm going to be in trouble with my wife.
But that's the way my family works. That doesn't mean that's the way every family works. That's not the case, Okay. I also have beautiful team. Like, I'm very conscious of this in my own team. I have, I have men in my team in their 30s and they will leave every afternoon because they need to go and pick up the children. Happy days. Fantastic, The thing is that taught me is I managed to still be very successful by working between 9:30 and 2:30 every day because I didn't spend my time doing things that didn't matter. I didn't muck around. I didn't do things. I had 5 hours to get my job done. I knuckled down, got my job done, and then walked out the door. Right. Anyone can do that.
Mm-hmm. No, not anyone can do that.
What I meant was, whether you're male or female, what I meant was it wasn't from a sexist sort of side of things or a male or female. It's your makeup, who you are as a person.
I just had lunch with you, right? So that's how I got to really see that you are a beautiful soul who is very much transparent. Who you are is who you just show. But I think that when it comes to work ethics, you got something in you that is a burning desire to just succeed. That's driving you.
I do.
Yes,
I do. Very much so.
Do you know what it is? I mean, because a lot of people, they don't get that. And I say to them, if you do know where the fuel comes from, then you can
take
advantage of that fuel, right?
Yeah. Look, I do agree that part of what's happened, like when I was 18 years of age, so I was very lucky. I did grow up in a, I did grow up on the Upper North Shore, so I didn't have a struggle. Right. I was very privileged, to be honest. I went to a great school, but stock market fell in 88, and we lost everything in 89. Right. Very quickly, while I was doing my HSC. They were taking our house. Wow. While I was doing my HSC.
While you were doing it.
While I was doing my HSC. So I have experienced from a very high to a very low very, very quickly. I've experienced what it does to your family. I've experienced to watch what it did to my father, to watch, Saying that though, and this is on retrospect because we spoke about this at lunchtime today, at the time it's really hard going through it. But I can remember a couple of years later, I wouldn't have changed it for the world because it brought my family back together. And united we stand, divided we fall. Yes. So united we stand, divided we fall. I've always taken that statement. It has gone all the way through. And I think that burning desire, like I never want to be in that situation again. I never want to put my family in that situation again. It was tough, but it was more tough watching what it did to them as people. I had a very proud father who suddenly thought he had failed us when he hadn't.
Yes,
you know?
but he probably also like saw the struggle you went through at school with maybe people speaking
True, that's
about
right.
you and about your issues at home.
That's right. You
Right.
certainly find out who people are, put it that way, right? You find out who your friends are and you know. But and of course, and I can look at this now as someone that has a child that's the same age as what I did when I went through that. And I can feel all the guilt. Like if I had done that to like if that was a situation that had happened with my family and it wasn't my father's fault, things happen. But I can only look at that now at my age going, I can understand the guilt and the hurt and everything else, the emotions that would have gone through and would have been really, really tough. But I remember being that age and I didn't have that. I was not angry with him. I wasn't upset. Do you know what I mean? There was nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, as I said, 2 years later, I remember him apologising to me like, you're kidding me. Like, I've got you back. You used to travel all the time. You're never at home. Now I've got you at home. Like, I actually got to know who my father was.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's interesting to look at it from a child and then an adult now.
Yeah. So you get into real estate, you go to work, there's a fuel, there's a fire within that is urging you to just win. And after now, at the start, you got a coach straight away. Not a lot of people do that. And I know that you said to me, yes, I know, but I started at the age of 43, therefore I had money behind me. But it's not about the money. It's about having that kind of vision. Hold on, if I want to do well, I might as well start well.
So I'm going to just correct you there. I didn't actually have money behind me. So we didn't have money behind me.
Okay.
So although we were living there, we had come back, we didn't have money behind us. My husband is not in a high-paid job like everyone else. He's not, we were just making it. So we didn't have money behind us. So in that situation, but yeah, you're right. When I did say to you, I just look at it from a calculated risk.
Yes.
If you don't educate yourself, if you don't do all of that, no one else is going to do it for you. So invest in yourself. And it fascinates me. People always think, oh, it's so expensive. To me, it's expensive not to do it. We're in real estate. We're not.
No, but it's not even that, Anna. There's people who start in a career as a real estate agent, as a lawyer, and they expect the business to pay for that for them, So when I heard that you went in and you spent it on yourself without a guarantee of success, that to me, that's crazy. That defies those laws of today where they're actually criticizing the employee for not paying for their studies.
You're right. And it is because now I'm an owner as well. So it is interesting looking at it from that side because my view is I've always invested in myself.
Yep.
It's paid off. I got a trainer and I also invested in an associate as well because leverage is the way I look at it too in this business because time is a commodity. Mm-hmm. If I can get more time, I can either earn more money or I get more time back with the family.
Yep.
Both are great.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to move forward, all right? Because talking about your success, you wouldn't be here if you were not a successful agent, right? So we there's so much I just want to ask. And 7 years into business or 6 years into business, now what's got into you? You now want to open your own show?
Well, yes. I had, I guess, in the business that I was in, I sort of felt that I had reached, there was no sort of further opportunity there for me to grow any further. I had kind of gotten as far as I had. Probably there were some culture things that didn't sit right with who I was as a person.
Yes.
And who I want to be as a person.
Yeah.
And I think some of those culture things were shining out some of the bits of me that I don't like, which can happen, particularly in a competitive environment, and we all have them, trying not to have them. Working really hard not to have them. And an opportunity came up. And I think I really liked the excitement of, I went into an office. It was an office that was there, but it wasn't a very well-known office. I remember when I first started going out to everyone, they'd say, Stone who? That's a challenge, and then that would allow me to bring the bits of me and work and then sort of bring that sort of side and hopefully, through that, sort of work with people that are more like-minded to grow that kind of culture that we want. And that's success.
But with that step, there's a new set of fears now, right? So it's taken you 4 or 5 years. You now accustomed to this.
It was scary.
Regain some balance.
Yeah, it was scary because this is actually different now. Before I was risking my family, right? And that was a decision that we made together.
Right.
When you have a team and you've made a decision to go across to a brand that's not, at that point in time, was not known in that area. It was an established brand, but not in that particular area. I'm taking on all their mortgages. Like I had 7 people that I was taking across. That's 7 mortgages, 7 lives, that's a massive responsibility. And it was scary. It was scary. Exciting, but scary. Mm-hmm. You do go through, what happens if it doesn't work? What happens? What do I do? These are people's lives. And we were coming out of COVID as well. So there were, other people had other challenges that were going on, maybe with their partner or families or other sorts of things that were kind of part of this mix as well. So, right.
Okay. So what was the discussion at home then? I mean.
Oh, goodness me. Again, I think, I am probably very lucky. My husband is, and again, he'd kind of seen what we had done. Like the scary part probably for him was going into real estate in the first instance. But you got to calculate risk. There's always risk involved, but you got to calculate how that sort of works out. I think for him, he had seen how we had grown, and this is a team. Even though it's me out there, it's me and him. Please don't think it's not, because at home, seriously, the psychology and the talking and the support, all of that sort of side of thing, he is on board, even though he's not physically there. He will attend all of my auctions. He will attend all of the team's auctions. He's there. He loves it and he loves people. So, for that, so it was us together doing this. Mm. And we made sure, this time round, it was a little bit different. We did have money in the bank this time round. So we, again, calculated the risk. If this wasn't going to work, how long could I pay them for? How long could we do? Mm-hmm. We made sure when we made that decision, because it's no longer my family's risk. Now I was risking them.
Right.
And that's different.
Okay. And that's been going now, what is it, 2 years?
2 years.
Okay. And how is it now?
Really good.
Yeah?
Really good.
So how about being a lady boss?
You might need to ask my team about that one. I always think I'm fabulous, but it's kind of interesting. And again, that probably is a question for my team rather than me, because you can sit here and think you're fabulous, but honestly and truly, you can think you're something else, but unless your team thinks you're that, it's really nothing, to be honest. I think it's very much about making sure that I'm very conscious of making sure that we have a whole mix, young, older, male, female, non-binary. It doesn't marry me at all. As long as, I think for me, it's about the values. If we actually have the right values in your team, we all have different people, but it's no different to finding a partner or a friend. You have friends that are very different to you, but your values are the same. That's where your friendship comes from, and it's the same with business. So I've made mistakes. Do not get me wrong. I haven't got it right. I'm still learning. The first year was really tough. Lots of mistakes. Lots and lots.
Tell us some.
I hired the wrong people. I made quick decisions. I thought being the boss was being the boss, everyone has to do it my way, and that's what I said. When you're under pressure, I think when you're tired and you're under pressure, some of your default personalities come out and you have to kind of recheck yourself. And that's been what I've been working on probably the last sort of year and a half, really conscious of that. Still haven't got it right. I'm going to be very frank with you and my team, if you're listening.
You're very hard on yourself, but maybe that's one of the quality that also the team enjoys, is that they see that, their leader is not just happy with who she is. She demands more of herself.
Look, I do, but equally so then I expect it of them as well. So, I am...
When you said that, your eyes almost had swords coming out. That's when I saw. Hold on now. Yeah. That is not a leader. That's a killer.
That's a killer. That's right. But it's understanding you got to understand what my expectation. When I say that, it's about their personal. Just because I move at 4,000 miles an hour. Not everyone moves at 4,000 miles an hour. It doesn't mean that they're not successful though. because they're successful. I think in real estate we warm towards certain like with clients that we work with. You know, I call it our herd. We warm towards people that are our herd, and so I might be the right agent for one person, but not the right person for somebody else. But someone else in my office will be the right person for them. So they still have high expectations, not high. It's not expectations. What's the word? I think it's more. You know, they commit to doing something, and that's what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. So ethics and morals is probably the word. If you say you're going to do something, do it. You know, instead of just talk. Actions speak louder than words. That's probably the biggest thing for me. You don't have to say it all the time, but if I can see those actions, you've got me. Do you find that men tend to have more promises than results? No, I don't think that's the case.
Okay.
I don't. No. I've never been asked that question before.
I'm just thinking, in your leadership of men, do you find that?
No, I think I probably, I think some men probably wouldn't work with me, if that makes sense.
Why not?
I'm probably quite strong. I'm quite a strong person.
Right.
So, you know, I won't do if I don't think that's the right thing for you, we will have a conversation around it.
Don't we compromise?
But that's the same with, I think that's the same with anyone. Look, I think the challenge that I've had is when I first came into real estate, it was very male, kind of, you know, dominated and very much so. The office that I'm in now is not that case. So it's been quite interesting because when I changed offices, I sort of came in all bravado and all of that sort of stuff, like coming in fighting is probably the words, you know, thinking that I had to kind of fight my way because that's what I'd experienced prior to that.
Yeah.
And it's that realisation that not everyone is like that, you know, and I think that's where that culture comes from, is that you then, and it's been wonderful. Like, it's been great. It's been learning. And that's why I say I made some mistakes at the beginning because I thought that's what I had to do, but I don't.
Yeah.
You know? So it's not a men-women thing. I think it's a culture. So?
I mean, some of the ladies sometimes I ask in podcasts or in conversation, some of my friends, they talk about an experience where they felt humiliated in front of men that they made the decision. You know what? I'm going to show you. And somehow it became a engine behind the success.
Let me have a think back. Look, definitely. I mean, there were things that said to me that I'm like, if you ever said that to a man, there's some things that have been said to me that I'm like, I would never hear anyone say that.
But you transcend that. Where
absolutely, and it is a driving force.
You don't have to run away from that, yes.
Well, I think, so again, I think I'm looking at retrospect, and that's probably very hard because now I'm in a different headspace and a different place to where I was when I first started.
Right.
When I first started, yeah, absolutely. But I'm not sure if it was just because I was a woman or because I was older as well. So I probably had the double whammy.
Maybe both.
Probably had the double whammy. You know, because I do remember, like I was here, they were all in their 20s. They all looked fabulous. They were very suave, you know, they had the, you know, and here I was, you know, the mum. And of course, there were, you know, people thought I had favour because I was rocking in the office at 9:30 to 2:30 and rocking out the door again. And they're thinking, well, why? You know, just because you have children. But my expectations of what I was to achieve did not change from management there. Does that make sense? My goals weren't any less. I still had to reach all of my KPIs and all of those sorts of things. Yeah. I just had to do it in a shorter space of time because I had other commitments.
I've got a question here because I'm sure that people are asking that. How do you do that as a mother between 9:30 and 2:30?
It wasn't easy. I'm going to be very honest with you, but I was very organised. I would sit down at night time and work out all of the telephone calls. So after dinner, I would actually make telephone calls again.
So it wasn't 9:30 to 2:30?
It was 9:30 to 2:30.
Okay.
I would finish dinner at 6:30, 7 o'clock, and then I would work again. I would answer my emails and I would send emails out at night time.
Wow.
But I did get in trouble because people were getting emails at 10, 11 o'clock at night in the office, and I had to kind of say, I don't expect you to answer them. It's just that I don't know when else I can do this. But I do work at 100, like my speed level is very fast. I work at 100 miles an hour. That's me naturally though. I can't, that's who I am. Mm-hmm. You know, I've had to teach myself to slow down because otherwise I'd be talking at 4,000 miles an hour.
I mean, are leaders people with a different blood, because when you now work around people who are much younger than you and they want to be looked after, they have demands before they even go to work. And how do you sit down and reconcile it and go, hold on, mate, I was 43. I had to just get up my butt and go to work. And now you want this, you want that, you want those things before you go to work. How do you lead people like that?
But I can't ask them to understand my story. They're only in their 20s. Like, I mean, I couldn't understand someone. I mean, God, when I was in my 20s, someone in their 40s was so old. Like, I couldn't even relate to them. How can I possibly ask them to relate to what I was doing? I can't ask them to relate to that. You still have to look at people as who they are.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, and this is my philosophy, I don't care if it takes you 50 hours to do something or 20 hours to do something or 2 hours to do something. If you get it done, happy days to you, then you can go and have your free time. Mm-hmm. We still have KPIs.
So you got duty before fun?
No. If you can manage to balance that, like we do sit down and work all of that through. But some people, I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you're someone that can do things because you've trained yourself or you're a little bit more skilled and that is your skill, you can actually get through things and in a more methodical way or a faster way. Why should you have to stay to work till 6 o'clock at night or come in at that time? If you can get your work done in that period of time and reach your KPIs and do that, and you can excel, go for it. If you can't, then we need to sit down and work about that, or whether this is the right thing for you. We have to, something has to, but it can't always be, it's a balance. I call it a wave. You know, there's times where you need to be focusing on yourselves and there's times to be you need to focus on work.
Yeah.
But if you don't, and I know we always talk about this work-life balance, and again, I'm still struggling to manage that, but you actually have to work to get to work-life balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
So you have to deserve balance.
Well, you do have to deserve balance, but balance also comes too, because I think in real estate too, I wished I had started real estate in my 20s. Like I wish I'd had the confidence to start real estate in my 20s. Maybe not, probably not. I didn't have the confidence level that I had when I got older.
Yes.
So I probably would have given up on it, to be honest. I think though, life has changed and things like that, and I'm watching young people having a lot more confidence, and I'm so proud of them because I think that's amazing and I wish I'd had that. But I also think it's a unique time in life where you don't actually have a lot of commitments, i.e. you don't have a mortgage, you don't have a family, you don't have those things that if you don't pay that mortgage, that house is going, you know, where life is a little bit freer. And if you do have the opportunity, have the desire and you want to get in and do it, it's a wonderful time to do that, to set yourself up. I've watched a lot of young people, you know, although I've only been in it sort of 9 years, I've been watching real estate for years, and I see some of these wonderful young people, women and men, that start early on. They still have a life, don't get me wrong. You've got far more energy than I ever had at 43. You know, you can party a little bit harder. So you can work hard and play hard. Like that's what the world designed the bodies for in the 20s, you know. A little bit different when you get to your 40s, not quite the same. You know, but, and I think go for it. Go for it. Live life. But work hard. It is the only opportunity that I think, well, not the only opportunity, I think it's a great time that you have where you can get that balance because you've got more energy, but go for it.
Do you find that right after COVID, when manpower was scarce and it was harder to just find people, that maybe we have diluted a little bit of...
Yes.
Okay. So did we put up with more shit?
Yes.
Okay. How do we recover for that? Because for the moment, the balance is going the other side.
At the moment, everyone's going...
The manpower is starting to become abundant again. And
what do you mean by that?
A lot of businesses closing down in different industries.
Yes.
And I think that there's a lot of people now looking for work in real estate. So if you have an organization that can just train people,
yes,
you know,
yes,
you're at the right place. You're sitting on the right treadmill. Does that now come around maybe the other side where those young kids who've had it easy after COVID, well, they didn't need much. They got a job. Now they have to live up to some of the expectation that we have because real estate's getting tougher.
Yeah.
And we've got manpower. We got choice. We don't have to have you if you're not giving me 100%.
But they're your future.
Yeah.
Right? And I think in anything, you need a mix of everything. And it doesn't matter to me whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, pink, blue, green, it really doesn't worry me in the slightest.
Right.
If you've got that and that resilience, it's the resilience that I'm after as well. Because really, it's like, how many times do you get rejected in a day?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, you get abused, you get this, you get that, you have the joys and the highs. That resilience and that desire, fabulous. The rest, you can teach.
So when you said earlier you've got that, what is that beside resilience that you're after?
There's a hunger, like you can see it in their eyes. You know what I'm talking about when you meet someone. Someone can give you lip service and telling you, I want to be the greatest real estate agent, or I want to do, I don't do that, but there's a twinkle in their eye. It's like when you can see it. You can see it in them.
Yeah. But what if they have bad eyes and you can't see it?
Oh, you're funny.
What
What I mean, it's a feeling, and I can't explain it to you.
Okay.
A lot of, and I think, again, this is probably part of just being a little bit older. A lot of this is, and it's no different when you're talking with people and you can see there's something there. It's a passion. It's a desire. It's if you've got that, listen to their story. Normally something's happened that they want to, as you said, you want to show someone. There's a reason. Look, if you are there are easier jobs to do out here in real estate than real estate that just earn you average money.
Yes.
Right? And I say that to my team. I say, this is challenging, There are easier jobs out there. Unless you want to really do this, honestly and truly, I love you. I'd love to see you out for a drink. Let's go down to the pub. But it breaks my heart to watch people eat themselves alive if they can't, it's not for them. Real estate's not for everybody. But if you love it, you love people, you've got that desire, it is, oh my God, so much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Okay. You seem to say that, it's easy, you can see the twinkle, but ladies seem to have that instinct, intuitive ability. Men, what we do is that we see in them some part of us that we can actually shape, and maybe our ego is involved.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And
Have you ever done...
So maybe ladies are better leaders than men in real estate?
I don't know.
No?
I think we bring different things.
Yes.
Because I think on the other side too, that sometimes I think we can read things into things that aren't there as well, I think it's probably a combination.
Okay.
Because I think we all have good, and because, as I said, most men and most of the leaders in real estate are men. So it's definitely working. You can't fault that. But I do think that there are some other things that women may instinctively bring, but I think there's definitely things that I don't have that I look at. I work with trainers now. I have a female and I have a male trainer or mentors.
You get in the yin yang.
I do, because I don't know everything.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful seeing different perspectives, because you can only see your perspective. But if you look at when someone else says it and you're like, oh my God, you're right. Yep, totally read too much into that. Yep, it's not that. Mm-hmm. So I can overread things or overthink things. Not great.
So if can you just tell us the composition of your team? So you have more ladies, more men, younger people?
It's good, actually. So I've got Jo, who's been with me for coming up 6 years. She's similar age to me. She started with me just as I first came out. So I started as a cadet or an associate for another agent for 2 years. Then I came out and I hired an associate who was a young, very green, beautiful, and he's doing very well, but not in real estate, but very well in sales, and I'm very proud of him because I watch him. And he comes and sees me every so often, and that's lovely. I love that. And then Jo came in about 9 months after that. So she's been with me. So she's a very pivotal part of my team, and she knows me very well. I have Jason, who's in his 30s. I have Aidan, who's in his early 20s on the sales side, and I just have Maddie, who's just started with me, and she's in her early 20s. And then I have Jane on the administration side. So she's probably she's late 40s. So kind of a mixture. That's my team. So it's a bit of a mix of everything.
Okay. So, but you can see the two people who are actually pretty important. So one in the admin, and the other one who is Jo. They're about in your same kind of age group.
Yes.
Yes. Then you have the energy of the young team in
Yes.
Jason, Aidan, and Maddie.
Correct.
I get.
Yep.
All right. So
Joe, you have energy. Please don't. No.
I didn't say that she didn't have energy. I didn't say that, Joe.
That is true.
I apologize if Anna just like implied
She
wrong.
completely misread it, right? This is what I was talking about.
So, can you just tell me is it possible in this market to be, let's say, to have midlife crisis and start in real estate?
So I'm going to step back. I didn't have a midlife crisis.
I never said that.
I know.
Said that.
But yes, why not? Like,
But now that you've done this and this hard, is the price to pay too high?
do you want it enough? That's got to come from you. If you want something enough and you're going to...
But what do you want? I mean, do you have to be like really poor and say that's it, that's enough with poverty? Is that what you're saying?
No. And it wasn't that. I mean, when I said to you, I just was saying to you I didn't have money behind me. The reason I wanted you to know that it was that it wasn't that the risk was light. There was risk in that. But I didn't have to choose real estate. I could have just continued down the path that we were on and just have a different life. So it wasn't money that drove me, but I just didn't have that backup support of, I didn't have the security of that, right? But yes, I mean, I guess that's what I love about real estate. There's many successful people that have had other careers beforehand and then come in. Jason didn't start real estate, he's in his mid-30s. He didn't start real estate until a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about something a bit different here now. What about succession plan? Are you starting to think about that already now or not?
It's always been mulling around in my head. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I think I don't know what that looks like right now, and I am very much interested in what's happening in the industry because I think that's a really good question. I think it is something. We're seeing the growth of teams come along. What does that look like? And I am fascinated about what that is. I'm not sure that we all have it right yet. I'm not.
You're a thinker.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what about the old adage in real estate about I'm going to give them 2 or 3% and tie them up to my business? That's not for me. It wouldn't be something that I would have taken on, so I wouldn't expect someone else to take it on. It depends who you are as a person, again. It depends, I think, if you're happy with that and that's what gives you, go for it, right? But 2 or 3%, that's nothing.
But I understand, but if that's what you want, fine. I don't think it's enough for me.
Yeah. I think it's a con.
I think it's a con.
Yeah. I
think you and I had this conversation before. I think to me that's a handcuff.
Yeah.
And if someone asked me about that, that would be my advice going there. But if that gives someone some security, and because the thing is, some people just want that because it makes them feel they're a part of something, but they don't want any influence on the business. They just want to get down and do that, But I think if you want to have influence on the business, you want to be part of that growth process, you want to be part of growing a team, all of that, 2 or 3% is nothing. It's not worth it. Yeah. So I guess you've got to look at what you want out of the business. If you just want to be a agent,
5%.
Yeah. But 10, you're correct. None of that. You have to assess about what part of the role that you want to have in that business, because if if you want to be part of that and grow that, then you need a bigger part of that. Equally so, if you just want to sit there and do absolutely nothing, then you take a smaller part. Yeah,
but you only can make decision, or you can only have answers to the things you know.
Correct, that's right.
So these kind of leaders who actually trying to really mesmerize you with golden handcuffs of 5% or 10%.
Yep. No.
Well, they probably teaching the different type of leadership to their staff. So is it possible that those kind of business owners actually dwarfing their staff with knowledge, maybe, to keep them ignorant?
I think, I do. I also think that people don't think that there's any other possibility. I also think people get scared by taking the risk, because if you sort of say no, do you get given any more opportunity? Does that make sense? I think some of that's a little bit of fear. I think it's a bit of ignorance. Like, I've learnt a lot around that side, because we're not taught. No one ever tells you about this sort of side of it. Suddenly you go into being a business owner, but there's no one talks to you about it. No one, again, like we were talking about when we spoke about having teams. You suddenly are a real estate agent, and then you have teams or you have staff. No one teaches you how to the leadership sort of everything's sort of kind of trial and error. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the same when you're coming into buying, getting some equity or buying into a business. But by that stage, it's too late. You're handcuffed in. Yeah. You can't do that. So I think there's a lack of education around it. Mm-hmm. But equally so, I think you also have to look at what you're going to bring to the business too, because just coming in and going, well, I want 40%, but I'm going to sit back and do absolutely everything that I'm doing now.
No dump's going to follow that, yeah.
Correct. I think there needs to be a little bit more education around that too, but the expectations of what's expected of you as you're being a business owner. But, I remember coming in being a business owner, and the minute I started, everyone goes, well, you're a business owner, so you're expected to do this, 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 and this. I'm like, hold on, why? What? Like all of a sudden, you're meant to be giving every piece of business that comes into the business, you should be sharing it out with your team. You're like, whoa, I've still got 7 people in my team that I need to look after as well, right? Yep. Like we still have to bring money into the business, yep. So I think there's a misconception from not only from the learning to be a business owner, what you think a business owner is. And again, that was a big jump for me and big learnings, but also what staff think a business owner is and what they should or shouldn't be doing as a business. I think there's a misalignment there and a lack of education around that.
Yeah, okay. So as you become a business owner, you've been in Wahroonga, you're selling now in Turramurra. I know that you're #1 agent of the year in, year out in Normanhurst. What about the relationship with some of your key people? Does that change?
Key people as in who?
For example, Jo. She's seen you as a top agent. Now you're business owner. Has the relationship changed? Or did you bring her along onto that journey of leadership with you, therefore?
Correct. Yeah, so she's been on that leadership journey. Like she knew, when we were making this decision to you don't make a decision to leave a company lightly. It's a big decision. There are conversations that go on internally with the company first to see if there's some way that can work out. And then when you realise that that's not going to take place, and I do encourage you to have those conversations before you decide to change company. Try with the company that you're with first. Right? Like have those discussions and be open about those discussions. No one's a mind reader these days, But Jo was part of that process. So she was on board through that. And I think you got to bring your team on that journey. Don't sit there thinking that you're this. There is no way I could get to where I am without Jo or the rest of my team. Mm-hmm. We are a team. Yeah. Yes, it's my face up there and my name and all of those sorts of things. And yes, I pay them, but I ain't going anywhere without people like Jo in my team. Mm-hmm. So bring them on the journey, listen to their opinions, be part of that. They can't be a part of every decision, but there are some big decisions that would be affecting her life. And so that was a conversation that we had early on because, again, she has commitments and things with her life that we need to assess on part of that. And if Jo wasn't going to come with me, I needed to know that before I came because I had to reassess that. Was that something that I wanted to do if Jo wasn't going to come with me?
Is there any second office or third office now that Turramurra is 2 years old? Come on, let's put it this way, right? You're doing record stuff, right? So let's be an agent for 6 years at the age of 43. Let's open a show. Now it's 2 years. Maybe it's time to think about a second one. I don't know. You're in here to break records.
Not right now. That can change though. Like I'm not going to say the thought hasn't crossed my mind or any of those sorts of things. But as we speak right now, no.
Yep.
But hey, that may change in 6 months. That's the thing. Things can change. And if opportunities come up, and I think that a lot of that's to do with opportunities too. Like I am a big believer that you kind of put things out there and if something presents it, take it, But if it hasn't presented itself yet, it's probably not the right time.
Yeah. Okay. So I can see you can give tough love, but I'm starting to see that your leadership style is very much a parenthood leadership. So you actually apply the kind of leadership that you do at home.
Probably, yes.
And your team is almost like your family.
They are my second family, yeah.
But I'm not saying that you cannot do tough love. I think that you can do tough love very well. So in that questioning, really, I'm going back to what I said earlier, is it possible that ladies make better leaders than men?
But hold on, when you're bringing up a family, you have a mum and a dad. Not always, but, often there's two because you bring two different sides to it, right?
Yep.
So, and you have many families that are a single parent that's a mum, and many families that are a single parent that's a dad, that are still, I could never meet someone and say, you were brought up by a male and a female, or you were brought up by a dad, or you were brought up with them. I'd have no idea when I meet them. So I can't say to you, no, I don't. I can't categorically say to you that women make better leaders than men. I don't believe that.
Okay.
Just like I don't think just because, you're a mum, you're going to make a better parent than a dad. That's not the truth. It comes down to the person and who the person is as a person.
Yeah. Okay. So now I want to go further.
Yeah.
I'm now a salesperson.
Yeah.
Is it important for me to find out who I am and what I'm made of, and find out maybe whether I can work in an environment where the leader is a lady, or in an office where the leader is a man?
Well, I think the problem with that is there's some preconceived ideas about what is what, and I think that's the problem. I think if you're very open, if you've got a preconceived idea that you can, I did have someone say to me that, I told this young man that he should never work for a woman, he should work for a man because women are tougher than men. I'm like, what the hell? Like, seriously? Did you just say that out loud? Like, seriously? That preconceived ideas is what actually frustrates me the most, I think that's where we have a problem, because people have these preconceived ideas about what's what.
Yeah.
If that's the case, I'm going to say to you, don't go that way. Just go and meet the person. It's again when you're meeting, like when you're meeting friends. You either gel with them or you don't gel with them, But, you're right. I do give a bit of tough love, but I will also pick you up, put you back on your feet again.
Yeah.
No problem.
Oh, yeah, that's what mum do.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But my job here is to teach you to fish.
Yeah. Okay.
Not to feed you.
Okay, so to what extent do you then tell your employee time to move on?
That's a really good question. I think, and I've had to have those conversations but you can see it because it's not right. They're eating them. When I say eating themselves alive, like you can see it's stressing them out. You shouldn't come to work and feel stressed if you need to go and pick up a telephone and talk to somebody. That's our business, If you watch people, and I think this is where it comes to resilience, we have ups and downs, and I have them too. Like there are times where, still we all can have them. Nothing is like this in real estate. That was a hand that went straight across.
Yeah. That's all right.
Being on a podcast, no one can see it. There are ups and downs, What you can see is when someone digs deep when they're down to get back up again. They can recognise, okay, or they'll come to me, what do I need to do? It's not working. What do I need to do? And we can sit down, ask questions, what do I need to do here? What do I need to do here? I love people that come and ask me questions because they're asking questions. They've been thinking about it. They want to learn. They want to try. But if you come in every day and go, no, I don't need anything. No, I'm okay, and you're not achieving and you're giving all the tools. I also provide external training to my team as well, because I think it's also important that maybe sometimes they can't have open conversations with me, or they're struggling and they don't want to show their vulnerability to me, that they have another outlet for it so that they can. Because really at the end of the day, all I'm here to do is to help you, work.
Yeah.
So I do provide that as well, because I do recognise, and I'm busy. I am very busy, I'll be honest, and I do work at 150,000 miles an hour. Sometimes you can't grab me. But so I do have that outlet there for them. If we're giving you all the tools and you're still struggling and you're not wanting to ask questions, it's probably not the right business for you. But most people know. But by the time you've sat down and had that conversation, they're pretty much going, thank God you had that conversation with me.
Right. Well, I would have to say it's been a great conversation. I now understand the 23 odd years from when you were 20 have been a preparation to get you into this meteorite kind of rise. And now I understand why the 6 years it's taken you to be a success, that was a no-brainer. The 2 years now that's taken you to this level of your business, that's no-brainer. I truly believe that there's more.
Thank you.
Because I think that the 23 years where you said, well, I did this, they actually have been fundamental to and foundation probably to what you're about to become now. And there's a lot coming. And I personally am starting to believe now that ladies are better leaders than men after I've spoken to you. I don't know why they seem to be able to check the ego out the door where men we can't. But let me just finish this podcast by asking you this question now, if I may. How do you know that you're living a good life?
Oh my God, you really ask tough questions and you make me think. I think, I live by, and I'm not saying I live a good life, I don't know, because there are days where, I'll be honest, there are days where I am wondering what I'm doing, Right. But I think fundamentally, if I live by one rule, that I have to sleep at night. So anything that I do, the way I behave or work or anything like that, I need to be able to sleep at night. So what that means is that I need to be comfortable with the decisions that I've made or the way I've behaved. And there are some nights that I'm not comfortable with the way that I behaved or how I can correct that. Leaving a good life, I know we talk about leaving a legacy, all of that sort of stuff. I think if you can be true to yourself and you can sleep at night and acknowledge the fact that you're going to make mistakes and you're okay with that and try not to make them again too many times. I think that's all I can ask for at this point in my life, but that may change in a couple of years' time. I think I'm probably in my learning journey, I'm probably early on in that. The growth that I've had in real estate as a person has been huge. I think in some ways I'm still infant in that way, if that makes sense. When I talk to people like yourself and I talk to other people and I think, oh my God, wow, I'm very early. At this point in my life, that's how I know I can live a good life.
Yeah. And Cavill, you just made us feel worse.
Sorry, that wasn't my intention.
That was a beautiful, beautiful answer. So much humility. And I think that's what is one of your secret potion, is to succeed and still remain that humble. That is what it takes. That we don't just think that we're better than others, and that somehow we take the time to really think about our journey. That has been your journey. Thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your time.
And you. And thank you for having me. It's been such an honour and a pleasure to meet with you.
Thank you so much, Anna.